everybody, how you doing today? It's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. Well, I'm gonna bring another recipe for chocolate. I'm gonna show you my book. This is the book that I talk about, and they have several brownie recipes in here. And I'm gonna try the one that's classic brownies. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I'm gonna use semi-sweet instead of unsweetened chocolate. But there's, as usual, I told you about this book. They have quite a few steps just for brownies even, but I'm going to take you along and let me get the ingredients ready and I'll let you know what I'm using as we go. In this bowl, I have 1 1/4 cups of cake flour. And now I'm going to add 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, just baking powder. 3/4. Oops. I like to get my dry ingredients ready first. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that's our dry ingredients. Let's whisk these together. Oh, my favorite little whisk is dirty. So I'm just going to whisk these together and I'm going to set this aside. And then we'll move on to the next step. Let me get organized because I only have so much counter space. So let me make more room and we'll go to the next step. The recipe calls for 6 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. I'm going to use 4 ounces of Bittersweet and 2.5 ounces of Semisweet. And I'm just going to kind of chop this up. It makes a mess. They said there's a trick. If you pop it in the microwave for a second, it keeps it from making all these crumbs. I didn't try it because I'm in a hurry. And I'm using Ghirardelli chocolate. I would like to try better chocolates, but I would have to order them off of Amazon. So I'm going to put them in this bowl over here. And I have a pot on the stove of a little water that I'm going to bring to a low simmer. So we got the chocolate. Try to get all of it. And now we need 12 tablespoons of butter. And you want to cut them into pieces. My butter's pretty soft. It's room temperature though. So I'm just going to dump that in. Let's see, and 12, that's 8, so we need another 1/2 stick. Okay. So let me wipe my hands. And I'm going to put this on the stove and let that melt slowly. And I'll show you exactly how I have it set up. Like this. You can see that. So we're just going to sit here and let this melt slowly. And then we'll go to the next thing. We're going to get 2 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. And I actually should have put the chocolate in a bigger bowl because it says to whisk the sugar in slowly with the chocolate, but that's okay. I'll just do it the opposite way. Yeah, this book has some steps that I find kind of annoy me actually. But most of the recipes are really good. So I'm just going to, I might could have used a tiny bit less sugar because I'm using Bittersweet. I just don't care for the unsweetened that much, but I like to use it sometimes. And we're also going to need 4 eggs. I'm just going to crack those into here. And I have 4 large eggs at room temperature. Sometimes I use extra large eggs. But I've been trying to buy large because that's what a lot of the recipes call for. But I used to only use extra large. I just like to use a lot of eggs when I bake. Okay, got that done. So now we're just waiting on the chocolate and the butter. And then we'll move forward to the next pecans. You can toast them, not toast them. They're optional. You don't have to have it. And let me show you what I did to the pan. This is really the first time I've ever done it, so I don't know if it's proper, but I have a piece 9 inches wide over this side, and on the outer edges I have a piece that's 13 inches wide, and you're supposed to put them perpendicular to each other. That way you can just lift the boards out. Hopefully it'll work for me. Lift them out and cut them when you're ready to serve. My chocolate mixture, and it's all melted. It's nice and smooth. You want to melt it slowly so it won't seize up on you, and all that butter is melted in there. So it says to let it cool slightly before adding the sugar. So that's what I'm going to do. Since I melted the chocolate in a smaller bowl, I'm just going to gradually whisk it in the sugar. Oh, I forgot to get me a little saucer. For my chocolate spoon, I apologize. I don't want this video to be too long. Oh. So we're going to gradually, it's still warm, so I'm just going to pour it in. And the sugar is going to cool it down. Sorry about the phone. Okay, let me just make sure I get all of this chocolate and butter. I've been searching for the perfect brownie recipe. I'm going to try every one in this book. They have one that's called turtle brownies, and you make your own caramel. I'll be right back. So sorry about that. Now we're just going to whisk in the sugar. And believe me, this bittersweet chocolate definitely needs sugar. But it does have a nice, deep, dark flavor. Sometimes it's too dark for me, but I think in this recipe it'll be okay. So I'm going to add eggs about one at a time. Just mix it in. And there's not much flour in this recipe. Oh well. It won't hurt anything. Just mix those in. And I apologize because I believe the eggs I used were extra large. I think I got confused because I have so many eggs in the refrigerator. So I think these are extra large eggs, but the recipe does call for large. But like I said, a lot of times I just use extra large. So I'm just going to make sure this is mixed in very well. A little elbow grease here. Now we're going to add a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And we're just going to estimate that. And that looks like about a tablespoon. Mix that. And it says to add the flour in 3 additions, if I have enough patience for that. So let's put in a little bit of flour at a time. This cake flour, I'm about to load a video of a rum cake, and this cake flour, I got it off I said it in the last video, but I got it from Amazon, and it is gonna be very good. The rum cake that I made just came out so light and fluffy. And I really think it's this flour. I'm really happy with it. It's called Pure as Snow flour. And it wasn't that expensive, like compared to some of those flours they sell. And I don't think I said this already, but make sure your oven's preheated to 325. So let's just add the rest in. I probably did that a little uneven. So let me finish mixing this in, and then we'll pour it in the pan. Okay, my flour's mixed in pretty well. Change to a spatula. Now I'm going to add my pecans. I love to add nuts. You can add walnuts, pecans, whatever you like. And I think I'm going to try, this recipe comes with two. You could make chocolate glazed mint frosted brownies, or you could make classic brownies with coconut pecan topping. And I think I'm going to do the coconut pecan topping because I love that stuff. I haven't decided completely yet, but I will let you know. So let's go to the stove and pour this into the pan. And see how thick it is. Let me move the pan so you can see. And I also sprayed my aluminum foil.
Want me to help you?
Yes. These bowls are heavy.
Am I gonna be able to lick the bowl?
Are you asking me that? I don't know. Okay. So I'm just going to spread these. I don't think they're going to be extremely thick. You want to spread it to the corners, to the edges. And I'm going to put this in the oven, and then I'll let you know how it's out. And you can see where I kept poking to see if they were ready. I have them a little uneven. I didn't spread it out evenly. So one side was ready before the other, but it took 15 minutes. So now we're going to make the top. Just changed my mind and decided to go with the German chocolate filling, so I'll probably have extra. But we're going to start by adding the egg yolks. This is 4 egg yolks. And then we're going to whisk in a can of evaporated milk, not condensed milk, but evaporated milk. And I have to be honest, I have made this before and scrambled the eggs. You have to have patience. So now we're going to put in the sugar. I have 1 cup of granulated sugar and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. We're going to whisk that in. And some stuck to my bowl. Whisk that in, and then we're going to turn the heat on. And I'm going to put it on medium. So once this comes to a simmer, it's supposed to take about 6 minutes. I hope you can see. But I'm going to, while the heat comes up, I'm going to wash my dishes. And oh, and I have butter. Let's see. Oh, I'm supposed to add this butter, 6 tablespoons of butter. Almost messed up already. This icing makes me nervous. I don't know why. And whatever I don't use, I'm just going to save in the refrigerator and make another chocolate cake or something. Or maybe I could freeze it, I'm not sure. But I already have my coconut and my pecans measured out. And I don't toast them for this. I never have, even for my German chocolate cake. But hopefully I'll do a video on German chocolate cake soon. But I think this is going to be really good on the brownies. I'm just going to put a thin layer so they won't be too sweet. So when this comes up to temperature and it starts boiling, I'm using the long, narrow whisk. And that is so I can get into the corner, I don't know if you call it the corners, but you know, the outside rim of the pan. That way I can get every inch of this pan to try not to scramble my eggs. Again, it's barely starting to come to a simmer. You want to bring it up to a boil, but try not to turn it on high because you will scramble eggs, but you want to stir constantly. But I can feel it starting to thicken just a little bit, but I have about 6 more minutes to go. Starting to boil and it's starting to thicken, and I put my timer on for 5 minutes, and you can kind of just go by how thick it is. And then we're going to remove it from the heat and add our vanilla. Here's the mixture. I just took it off the heat. Ooh, sorry. And it's nice and thick. And I didn't scramble the eggs, so I'm quite excited. And if that happens, you can strain it. Now I'm going to add the teaspoon of vanilla. And stir this in. And on the other side, I don't know if you can see, but I have my coconut and pecans. So, what are you doing? Sorry about that. My daughter's playing with the camera for some reason. Okay. Now I'm going to move this over so you can see. Hopefully I don't burn myself. Now,
The camera.
I hope I have enough coconut pecans. You can always add more. It's to whatever you like. I did the measurements, but you can add more if you want. So I'm going to take this and pour this over. Go put that in the sink. We're going to mix this. And I may have to add a little bit more coconut. And you want to let it cool a little bit so it'll get thicker as it cools. But that looks awesome. This is like one of my favorite frostings. Okay, we'll let this cool a little bit, then we'll top the brownies, and we'll have to let those cool, and then we'll cut you a bar. And bye.